This is the level 3 checkpoint for episodes 7, 8, and 9. The current position is white to move. Try to find the best sequence in this position and write down your answer. You may stop the video now. We're able to find a continuation in this position, so here we're totally winning in multiple ways. But let's try to find the fastest way, okay? So in this position, we need to find the fastest way, which is by finding the move Queen H1. Everything else is like checkmating 4 or so, but this one is checkmating 3, okay? So Queen H1, it's a very, very nice move, and it has a couple of responses. What happens if they just capture the pawn here? Only move, right, with the king. Now we have to find the move knight g2, and because the king cannot move anywhere, they have to capture this knight. And here you will just have a checkmate with the pawn. Okay, so now we have another response here. What happens if they just capture the pawn with the pawn? Now we have to find the move queen g2. Because the king cannot move anywhere, they have to capture the queen. And that would just be a checkmate with the knight in this position. The current position is white to move. Try to find the best sequence in this position and write down your answer. You may stop the video now. We're able to find the continuation in this position. So here we're the white pieces, and we need to find only one move that wins the game. Any other move will draw the game. Okay, so we have to be precise here with the move that we find. And not just the move, but the sequence that follows. Okay, so here we have to find the move h4. h4 on the dark squares. And the idea is that you can always, if they just push the pawn forward, you can just capture it, right? But here, they're going to try to be tricky with the move h5. And here, you still have to find only one move. For the whole sequence, you have to find the correct, perfect sequence. If not, you draw the game. But you're winning, all right? So here, you have to find the move king f8. If you go with the move king f7, that's just a draw. And they would have to find the move g5. And if you capture, they start pushing their pawn forward, and that would just be a draw because you would both have queens, okay? And the idea is that at the end of our promotion, our king is blocking the promotion square, so it doesn't come with a check. And that's the idea to consider throughout the whole exercise, or this position especially. We're keeping our king in the dark squares because whenever we want to promote our pawn, it can come with a check. Okay, so here we have to be precise again with the move king f8, attacking the pawn. So if they push your pawn forward, in this position, what happens if they just push the pawn to g5? Then you promote with a check, which is super nice. But here they just push their pawn forward to g6. They're trying to trick you. So again, here we cannot just come to f7 because the same idea, and that would just like be two queens for both sides, and that would just be a draw. So here we have to go around again on the dark squares. King e7. If they just push your pawn forward, now we just take, right? And if they don't push your pawn forward, now we would just come here and just capture the pawns on the dark squares again, okay? So here, if they go with g5, we capture the pawn, and we start with the pawn raise. But remember that our king is not blocking the queen for the check, right? So here, like whatever they move, we can just attack this pawn and capture the pawn to prevent the promotion. The current position is white to move. Try to find the best sequence in this position and write down your answer. You may stop the video now. We're able to find a continuation in this position. So here we're thinking of tactics, okay? And here we have to be precise with the move that we find. So the best move here in this position would be like a checkmate pattern. And it's like a checkmate in 7, but it's like a very tactical position. That's why it's in the tactics exercises. So here we have to find the move bishop d8. Bishop d8 check. It's a very nice move, right? And the idea is like, what happens if the king goes here to a7? Now we just capture the pawn on e6 with the rook, okay? So what would happen if they just capture with the king? Now we just have a checkmate in 1 with the queen here, you know, covering all the squares. So here the most common response will be for them to just capture with a pawn. Here we have to find queen d7 check, right? And remember that the bishop is covering here the b6 and the dark squares. So here only move, let's say the king goes to b8. Okay, now we have queen c7 check, only move for the black pieces here, for the white pieces, sorry. And now we have the move queen c8 check. This is a gorgeous pattern, because here now we have this move bishop b6 check. And you're thinking, wait, they can just capture it, but now we just have a checkmate in one pattern. Remember that our pawn here is blocking these two squares. The current position is white to move. Try to find the best sequence in this position and write down your answer. You may stop the video now. We're able to find a continuation in this position. So here we're thinking of anything that we've covered so far, right? And here most likely it will be a checkmate pattern, but here, yes, we have a checkmate in 4, but we have to be precise with what we do. Okay, so here we have to find the move knight f5. Knight f5, it's a nice beginning move for the whole sequence, and we need to consider that the pawn cannot really capture the queen because it's pinned to the king. Okay, and if the queen just were to go here like before the knight move, then we can just give a checkmate in 1. So here they would just find the move rook f7, protecting anything, because they were like here, if they don't do anything about it, let's say they go here, now we just have this move queen g7 check, the queen takes, and now we just give a checkmate with the pawn because the knight's covering this g7 square, right? So that's why they're trying to also protect with the rook this square for the sacrifice. So here we have to find the move rook g4. Now we're threatening a checkmate in 1 here, and still they cannot capture the queen because the rook is pinning the pawn to the king. So here they would just have to go back to try to repeat moves, try to get a 3-4 repetition. And now we can just sacrifice the queen in this position. All right. And the idea will be like, what happens if, again, they do this situation here? Now we would just still have the sacrifice of the queen. If they capture like this, we have a checkmate with the pawn. So in this position, they will probably just bring the rook back, and now we can still sacrifice the queen and just finish the game with a checkmate with the pawn anyway. The current position is white to move. Try to find the best sequence in this position and write down your answer. You may stop the video now. We're able to find a continuation in this position. So this is an endgame position, and we need to be careful with what we make for the move. Only one move wins the game. Any other move draws the game. And it's not just the move, but the sequence as well. We need to be precise with what we do. So here we have to find the move b4. We're going for a pawn raise. So they also want to promote their pawn. So we just go ahead and push our pawn, and they also push their pawn as well. And here, as the white pieces, we need to find one move that wins the game, which is queen b5 check. The idea of this is that we're giving the check to the king, and if they don't do anything about it, we just win the queen. So they would just have to capture the queen back. And now we capture. The problem here for the black pieces is that like the black pieces or the king is in front of the pawn. So the king has to move first and then push their pawn forward. So here we're winning a little bit because the h1 square is a square that can be seen by the promotion of the white pawn. So here we just go for a pawn raise again. We try to push, and they're not in time to promote in before we promote. So here, if the king were to go somewhere, we can always just block this with the queen and just bring your king forward and win this pawn in the end. The current position is white to move. Try to find the best sequence in this position and write down your answer. You may stop the video now. We're able to find the continuation in this position. So this is a very tricky position, and we're totally winning, right? Doesn't matter what we do, we're winning. But there's a sequence that just is very forceful, and especially we need to consider that our pawn here is blocking d5, the rook is covering the whole file here, our king is blocking these squares, and we have the two nice pieces but one pawn. If we're not careful enough, we can just draw the game, or even like blunder a piece and then have them win the game somehow. It's very difficult, but we need to be precise with our moves. So here we can just make waiting moves. Okay, so here this is a nice move. As long as we keep the rook on the b file, doesn't matter where you put it. I mean, it matters if you just put it here, just blunder the rook, right? But don't do that. So you can put it here anywhere on the b file, anywhere that the king cannot just capture for free. And the thing about this move is that they don't really have many moves, right? So here they would probably just push their pawn here to d3. They're trying to be precise with what they can do. And you remember, right? Because whenever you, like an opponent or someone loses a piece, they start playing sharp. It's like, you're losing already, come on, just give up. But it's okay, you know, they're gonna try their best. Here we can just make a waiting move with the bishop by bringing it here to a1. And they cannot really move anything, right? So they would just probably give you the pawn here because the king cannot really move anywhere right now. So they have to make any moves that they can make. Legal moves. Here we have the move rook b2. The idea of this move is that we're still covering the whole diagonal. But now, because they cannot really move any pieces, now we're giving them a choice, or we're giving them a chance to move their king. So the only move for them right now is just king d4. And here we have a nice checkmating one, which is rook b4 check. The pawn cannot capture the rook because the bishop is also giving a check. And now the king cannot capture this pawn because the rook is also covering the whole rank here on the 4th rank. And this is a beautiful checkmate here. Very forceful, but super nice.